Thanks for joining. And our session today is on the meditation or the mindfulness practice of RAIN. And RAIN is a mnemonic for recognize, accept, investigate, and non-identification or nurture. And this is a way of familiarizing ourselves with an experience which we might normally avoid. It's an acceptance-based practice. And in that we can develop the skill or the art of dealing with uncomfortable experiences. And to set the tone, there's a lovely poem by Rumi called The Guest House. And I'm just going to read that out. So this is The Guest House by Rumi. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So what Rumi's telling us there is that suffering happens. These difficulties in life, they happen, and quite often they happen before we've had a chance to choose whether they're here or not. So what this RAIN practice does is it allows us to learn how to accept what's already here. And we're not looking necessarily for a way out of our suffering, because that's what we intuitively do anyway. We rebound off difficult emotions, we rebound off difficult thoughts, and we can often put a bit of a wall up or turn the other way. And in doing so, this kind of creates a disconnection within ourselves. And if we do it enough times, then we start to lose connection with, our values, our inner truth, our sense of who we are. So we're not actually trying to stop this suffering experience, we're going towards it. And we meet suffering in our relationships, we meet it in our bodies, we meet it in our work lives, we meet it in our headspace. And it's always going to be there. So what we have to do is learn how to deal with it. And in doing so, then we're developing a sort of inner wisdom. It's a tool of self-compassion. So without self-compassion, then we can't approach some of these difficult things. And today we will be asked to bring up something that is a difficulty. And this is, completely your choice. You don't have to use a real difficulty. You can make one up, or you can even use a positive emotion. And there's no wrong way of doing this. What it is it's practicing the process of approaching these difficulties that we have in life. Because we intuitively turn away. So what we're doing is we're turning our attention towards these experiences. And we're doing it as a practice. We're doing it like a musician would tune an instrument or practice scales on a piano or a guitar. So we're going through a process which Might seem a little bit complicated to start with, but it's a simple process of acknowledging our suffering and exploring it with curiosity without judgment. And what we're actually doing is subconsciously we're learning how to do that in real life. So the skill is to practice it, with a little thing in our meditation, maybe a little irritation or a little ache or pain. And then in doing that, we're actually putting it to use in life as well. It's important to remember that what we're facing is always a real experience as well. If we're having an emotional experience, a difficult experience, that is very true for us. If there's a pain in our chest or a difficult thought spinning around our mind that we can't get away from, or some feeling or emotion that's sort of making us feel a certain way, that is very, very real and very, very true. But quite often, not all the time, but quite often, it's resting on a bed of assumptions or uncertainties or things that we've picked up in our lives that aren't really ours. They're things that have been projected into our heads from upbringing, stuff that we had little to no choice about. So we're not looking back in time at the causes, because each cause has prior causes, and we could keep going back to the beginning of time to find out why. But the power of this practice is really staying present with what is happening right now. So we're using this experience. We're utilizing the conditions of this experience. If it's anxiety, instead of wishing it wasn't here, we're going, okay, anxiety is here. Now, what can I do with it? And we start the RAIN practice. Again, it's called a practice for a reason. And it's teaching us subconsciously how to deal with difficult emotions. So as we go through the practice, it's very normal to lose concentration, to wander into past or future thinking. It's very normal to go into analysis, sometimes even self-criticism, sometimes to zone out. These things are a normal part of a meditation or mindfulness practice, and we're encouraged just to notice these things. And if we're noticing it, then we're practicing mindfulness. So if I'm sitting here for 5 minutes following a meditation, sometimes I wouldn't have listened to a word because my mind is too loud and my head's too busy. So rather than waste any more time worrying about what's just happened, about being absent, I'll just bring my attention back to this moment again. And I bring it back 10 times or 1,000 times during the practice. And we will find that often we feel like we're not doing it right, especially at the beginning, if we're not practicing meditation for very long or not for a while. There's a sense that I'm not quite getting this right. So just be aware these are common factors of practicing mindfulness and meditation. We will begin the practice shortly, and it begins with a settling. So we're asked to focus on the breath for 3, 4, 5 minutes as we allow the mind to come out of the super noisy stuff out here, and we start to come a bit closer to our experience of what it's like to be here and now. And then we'll start the RAIN practice. So the first part of RAIN is to recognize. And if we're using the poem, the analogy of the guest house, recognize is really opening the door to the experience. I'll use anxiety as an example because it's something I'm quite familiar with. So I'm opening the door to my anxiety and I'm saying, hello, anxiety, there you are. And the next step is to allow. So this is the A. So we recognize, we open the door, and then we allow. So I'm inviting it in the house. I'm saying, Okay, anxiety, you're here on my doorstep. Now come on in. And we invite it in, and we invite whoever else is with it. Maybe there's a self-critic voice in there or a feeling of shame behind it. And we invite all of those in. And we invite them in and we allow them to be in our space. Because what we often suffer with is resistance. We often suffer in our lives. In fact, most of our suffering comes through not wanting to face what's happening, thinking we shouldn't be feeling that way, pushing those feelings away because of denial or shame, thinking that if we accept these feelings, then they're going to be around forever. When quite often the opposite is true. When we accept and allow these feelings and these difficulties to have their own space, often they tend to drop away by themselves, or they shrink, or we expand. Something changes. But this isn't a negotiation we make with this difficulty. I'm not saying, hello, anxiety, come on in. Now quickly leave out the back door. This isn't like, I'll let you in if you get lost or if you go away. This is, I'll let you in and I'll let you be here for as long as you need to be here. The intention isn't to get rid of it, although we often find the resistance goes once we allow the difficulty in. So once we've allowed it, we start to investigate, and this is the I of RAIN. We investigate with intimate attention. We do our best to become aware of where this presents in our body, where it presents in our emotions, where it presents in our thoughts. Maybe there's some underlying attitudes or beliefs that are supporting this. And we do so with curiosity and non-judgment. We do our best just to allow this to be objective. And the last stage is what we call non-identification. Now, this is a little bit more abstract, but what we're doing is asking it questions like, is this permanent? We're creating space around this experience. So is this permanent? Is it true? Is it actually who I am, or is it just part of me? Is it moving through me, or is it here to stay? And we start to use our awareness to shift our perspective on this difficulty. So that is it. That is the practice. And I'll start it in a moment. I just want to ask if anybody has any questions about what I've spoken about there. Okay. So, hello. So I do just want to add one thing before we begin the practice, that the RAIN is a sensitive practice. And I will be guiding it, but please feel free to guide yourselves through each element in your own time, at your own pace as well, and to your own depth. So if you're not quite finished exploring or being curious about your thoughts and we move on, then stay with the thoughts. If you're still with a sensation that you want to spend more time with, then please spend more time with that sensation as well. It's important that we navigate this practice to our own needs and our needs in the present moment. So thank you, and please enjoy the practice. Of this bell, using the sound of the bell to meet us where we are now. Not where we think we should be. Not where we want to be. just as we are now. And finding our posture. And our posture is one that is relaxed, but allows us to remain alert as well. So we often think about growing a little bit taller, maybe lifting the back of the head ever so gently, and then allowing the rest of the body to relax down either side of that straight spine. And this kind of posture allows us to stay alert enough to benefit from the practice. And feeling free to make any adjustments that we need to make throughout the practice as well. And momentarily bringing to mind our motivation for being here today, maybe asking ourselves, what is it that brings me to this meditation today? And allowing whatever comes up just to come up. There might be one reason, there might be a few reasons, or there might be none. Allowing our motivation to fall away as we gather our awareness onto this breathing body. So we can narrow our awareness like a torchlight onto the part of our body where we feel breathing the most. And we may feel that in the nose or the throat, we may feel it in the chest or the belly. We may just have an overall sense of the body breathing. There's no wrong way of doing this. Just focusing on the sensations of the breath as it comes in the body and out the body. And then inviting the breath to deepen slightly. So we may soften and extend the inhale and soften and extend the exhale. So all we're focused on right now is the movement of the breath in and out the body, and any sensations that are associated with that. And we find ever so quickly that the mind will bounce on to other things. It will get busy thinking or planning, problem solving. This is all perfectly normal, so we just brush that off. We don't make a big thing of it. We just let those thoughts go, and we return to this breathing body. And it's helpful to equalize the breath, so we can count to 3 or 4 on the inhale, and then count to 3 or 4 on the exhale, so we're getting a nice even flow of breathing. And each time the mind gets lost in thinking, then without any judgment, we just gently return our awareness to this breathing body. Come back to the counting, come back to this even flow of breath. Sometimes we can say, I'm breathing in and I know that this is my in-breath. And I'm breathing out and I know that this is my out-breath. Sometimes part of the landscape of distraction is a feeling like we're not getting it right, or like we're trying to achieve something. So if that's going on, we can let that go. We've got nowhere to go during this practice. We're already here. And then noticing how the body feels as we let go of the breath. So we let go of counting, we let go of any deepening or adjusting the breath. We actually allow the breath to return to its natural flow. And simply focusing on that natural exhalation and the sensations that accompany it. If the breath is short and choppy, allowing it to be short and choppy. If it's long and smooth, allowing it to be long and smooth. Can we invite our minds to let go of thinking in the same way that the body lets go of the breath? We don't need thinking for this practice. We just need direct experience of what's going on right now. And then expanding our awareness to include the whole body. So a feeling of being here, sat on this chair or wherever we are, getting a sense of what it feels like to be here. Noticing the weight of our body. Maybe we can feel our bottoms on the chairs, our feet on the ground. Maybe we can feel temperature. There's no right or wrong. No expectations that we should feel anything. Simply an awareness of what is here. Giving ourselves permission to be here. And again, expanding our awareness to include the breath, to include the body, and also to include the space around our body. The room that we're in. So we're tuned into our breath, we're tuned into our body, and we're tuned into our environment. And we can treat external distractions as noise or some sort of interruptions, just the same as we would an intrusive thought. We simply notice it. This has arisen, and then we let it go, and we come back, to the breath, and rest on the breath again, very lightly. And here's where we begin the rain practice. We're asked to bring to mind a small difficulty, maybe a sensation that we're noticing right now, a discomfort, maybe an awkward emotion or difficult feeling. And spending a few moments just recognizing what is here right now. And it may be that we're struggling to pin one thing down. Sometimes it's just a general feeling of a few different things. We don't have to get the name exactly right, but just acknowledging its presence. And if there's no difficulties available, then bringing to mind a pleasant experience. Or simply sitting with the stillness of this moment. And once we've recognized what's here, once we've acknowledged its presence, we can allow, and we allow this experience to be here. We give it space. We're rolling out the welcome mat. Can we give it space? Can we accept its presence without any expectation that it needs to go somewhere. And maybe there's more feelings or more difficulties associated with this one. Can we allow those space to be here as well? Maybe there's some judgment or confusion. Maybe there's some shame. Maybe a sense of not good enough or not getting it right. So once we've allowed this experience to be here, then we can investigate it with intimate attention. And we do our best to notice how it appears in our bodies. Curious about any sensations in the bodies that are associated with this experience. So just scanning through the body and picking up any obvious sensations associated with this. Are we aware of anything in the chest or the belly? Is there anything, maybe a tightness in the neck or the shoulders? Can we become curious about this experience? And can we explore those sensations? Does it have a middle or a center? What do the edges feel like? And is there maybe some blanks or we can't really feel it in the body? And noticing that as well. Noticing the blankness. And then doing our best to just accept that this is here, whatever it is part of this experience, part of this feeling, is this sensation, and it's here anyway. So can we just accept that it's here? And letting go of sensations and coming into more feelings of the body, like emotions, any emotional presence of this difficulty that's here. Maybe the difficulty is an emotion. Maybe there's layers to it. So we do our best to be objective and just to simply view this emotion. This feeling is here already. Maybe it's a tenseness or a tightness in the chest. And we ordinarily wouldn't want this to be here, but for this practice, we can do our best just to explore it. What does this emotion consist of? Is it part of a constellation of emotions? And can we allow and accept the fact that this emotion or these emotions are here as part of this experience? So just offering some gentle acceptance to this field of emotions. And then letting go of any exploration of the emotions and examining any thoughts about this. What kind of thoughts revolve around this experience? What kind of thoughts are present here? Can we be curious about these thoughts that might be present? Maybe there's a storyline, a familiar soundtrack playing associated with this experience. And are these thoughts, are they one-sided or are they true? Are they familiar? And as we have done with the sensations, as we've done with the emotions, can we give these thoughts permission just to be here as part of this experience? Just allowing them space. We don't have to resist them. And maybe going one layer beneath thoughts into our attitudes or beliefs. Maybe there's a certain attitude or belief that is suspending these thoughts. Maybe there's an underlying belief that's propping up this whole experience. Maybe we're believing that we're just not good enough, or that we can't handle this experience, or that this means we're a certain thing. So can we just allow those to be here as well, giving them space, because they're here as well anyway. So with all of those experiences, with all of those sensations, feelings or emotions, thoughts and beliefs, can we make space for them to be here as part of this difficult experience, as part of this experience of suffering? Can we expand? Expand and allow them space to be here. These are all very real and valid parts of our experience. But maybe we can ask, are they permanent? Are they permanent, or are they moving through? Is this all of me, or is it just a small part of me? And can we accept even the bits that we don't want? Accept the difficulties. And accepting all the things that come along with it as well. Just temporary visitors to this guest house. And just allowing this practice, whether we feel like we've followed it, or whether we got lost, or however the mind might analyze it, just allowing that to be just as much part of the experience as any of it. That sometimes it feels like this. Sometimes it feels this way, to be a bit confused, to feel like we're not getting it right. And wherever we can find acceptance, wherever we can drop resistance, we can find some peace. As soon as we stop challenging our experience, as soon as we stop resisting reality, there's a moment of space, a moment of peace, There's a moment of peace and a moment of space. There's nothing that is unacceptable. And as we approach the end of this practice, just letting go of any need to explore, gently letting go of all that curiosity, finding our breath again, finding our breath in our body. Feeling our bums on the chairs. And then maybe starting to move our fingers and toes or move in our chair. Coming back to this space with a gentle reawakening. And opening the eyes if they've been closed. And allowing the sound of the gong just to signify the end of the practice.